Good evening. Welcome to Moments with Lady K and Mistah Show, where they converse on motivational living, clearing negativity from your life, local events, and more. Here are your hosts, Kimberly McLemore and Teryck Coles.
All right. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to Moments with Lady K and Mistah T. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, and we have with us Mr.
T.
Yes, Teryck Coles, better known as Mr. T, and of course I am Lady K. Yay! So anyway, as y'all can see, it's been a while. We haven't been on in a month, so I know y'all miss us as much as we miss you all. But how are you doing, Mr. T?
I am doing wonderfully well, Lady K. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Feeling a little heavy after yesterday, but I'm good.
I guess for those of us, for those folks out there that don't know what we're talking about, of course, it's Thanksgiving.
Yes. The turkey day was delicious, and I didn't fix turkey. It was still a good day. And I just sat around and watched a bunch of, movies and, ate. I only ate once, but then I had a couple snacks, so I was like, I'm feeling it this morning, feeling it.
It's so funny because I actually think you didn't do turkey, and yesterday was Thanksgiving was my first time actually doing a turkey, like by myself, and I did a turkey breast. And for those that don't know, you can do a turkey breast in a slow cooker. I'm sure a lot of people out there probably know it, and it was the best decision I think I ever made.
Oh wow!
And then we took it out. Once it was done after 5 hours, so it was a little over 6 pounds. So I put it in the slow cooker for about 5 hours, and then I took it out, and because I'm black, I give it a couple extra minutes, do exactly 5 hours. Well, it can sit in there for a few more minutes. It's in there with all the juices, and it's all moist. We're good to go. And then popped it in the broiler for 10 minutes.
Yeah, get that little crispiness on there.
Yeah, get a little brown. I said, okay, we did this. I said, okay, well, maybe next year I'll try a real turkey. But I think I like the turkey breast better because and then the recipe with the chicken broth and the white wine,
right?
And celery and onion and garlic, and it just kind of worked this little magic. It wasn't as sweet as I think I would have liked, but I did it with the meaty side up as the recipe called. But then I saw some after I had already done it that were put the meaty side down. So I said, well, maybe I'll try it again before Thanksgiving and, between now and next year. And
right.
Try with the meaty side down and see if that makes a difference with the flavorfulness. But,
yeah, because that's definitely...
everybody wants to know that.
Well, you got to talk about Thanksgiving, and then we know that, 2020 has been very interesting and it's been a different time. And so, most people were complaining about, we can't travel. It's not the same. We don't have a bunch of people at the table. But at the end of the day, it's like, was thankful that I could be sitting at the table. There was a lot of people, who weren't able to do that because they either passed away or just, like I said, we couldn't have our families around us. But it was different this year. Our family did a Zoom call for Thanksgiving. So it was great to have everybody on at the same time and just talk for about an hour or so and just, what we were doing for the day and talked about what we were thankful for and just kind of reminiscence all the previous years. So that to me was just as fun, and it was just as meaningful than, not being able to have everybody around the table. Cause of course, obviously my family doesn't live here. So we all live in different states. So like I said, it just worked out pretty cool, yesterday. And I guess a part of it being that I'm used to being by myself and, just having my son around or whatever, it wasn't that big of a deal for us to enjoy a nice meal together and just sit down and conversate and watch movies and hang out, and then had popcorn later. So like I said, my tummy today is saying you may not want to overdo it today, and tomorrow is back to the exercising because I've been off the wagon on that one too. So.
You and me both. You and me both. I was like, oh, I'm not teaching my Thursday night class. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, crap. And I was like, I didn't get to teach Thursday morning. And so I was like, oh, what am I going to do? And
Mm-hmm.
so I was just like, let me just make sure I don't eat a whole lot and drink lots of water between now and Saturday. That way I don't feel all heavy going in there to teach.
Right, right. Well, you'll do fine. You know,
You,
you got it together. It'll be it'll come back like magic.
right, right. But I'm glad you mentioned the family Zoom calls, though.
Hmm.
For those that don't know, I think Zoom was doing something special for Thanksgiving, where I think they were allowing people to be able to talk for up to 90 minutes or longer, or something like that, regardless
Yes,
of what kind of account they had, which was
yes.
really cool. Of course, with my Zoom, I actually paid for a subscription.
Hmm.
My mom actually put together something for our family. We actually got together Wednesday night
Hmm.
via because my mom was like, because she's old school, but she's new school too. She's like a good mix of both. And she said, if everybody's gonna be on Thursday trying to do their family Zoom call, she said, let's meet Wednesday night just in case the network goes
Right.
down. So,
Exactly.
but it
Exactly.
actually worked out too. It actually really worked out because everybody, because we're so spread out. We have people in Florida, people up
Right.
north, people out in the Midwest.
Hmm.
Um, 'Cause as we've grown up, even though we all grew up here in Virginia in the same city, all of us have kind of like the grandchildren we picked up and kind of moved away. So we're all kind of spread out. So it was nice. That everybody was able to get together. My mom had games planned that we used to play like in person, and she found ways that we could play those games like online, like via the chat and everything, which was cool. And then there was like a little roll call, like where are you calling from,
Hmm.
uh, which was kind of cool. Like where's everybody at? So just hearing
Right.
that roll call was pretty cool because some people were still, of course, back home in Roanoke, but then those of us that are spread out and spread around the country, it was nice knowing where everybody was, because we forget, so that was actually kind of a cool thing. So
Yeah,
thank God
yeah.
for technology.
Well, exactly. I mean, it's like I said, this year's been so different and everybody's doing. I know we're all zoomed out, we're all teamed out, Skyped out, whatever that people use as far as their technology. But it was just so refreshing, to just be able to have everybody, as I would say, in the same room, but just doing it through a different process. And, people were everybody was very relaxed and just enjoyed the opportunity. And like you were saying, I didn't even think about when I had set up the Zoom that it was 90 minutes. Like I kept saying, oh, we're gonna get cut off, because my mom took a little bit longer to get in the technology side set up right. So it was like, we only got 30 minutes, and then it kept going and kept going. I said, oh, Zoom's being generous today, we didn't get cut off. So yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah, but I said it's just one of those situations that we just have to be in tuned in, and I think the better part of it is that we can use this all the time. Because our families aren't always together, whether it's a holiday or not. It was an opportunity to try something new and get everybody together, and we can do it on regular weekends, or whatever amount of time that everybody enjoys talking to each other. I talk to my parents every weekend, no matter what. So it was great to be able to see them and make sure that they are doing well. And how families are, we always say, oh, we're doing good, and then you want to see everybody. So it was nice to see my brother and his wife and my nephew, and I said everybody just hanging out, having a good time. So alrighty, well, now we've got through the turkey talk and we got through that day. Now we can talk about our things that we have going on, and what our discussion for today is going to be. And it's the famous saying of the power of no. Interesting topic. But before we have the conversation, what made you, Mr. T, decide that was something that we needed to discuss today?
Well, that's an interesting thing. Interesting thing. Um, well, I mean, so a lot of people don't realize how much power the word no has. So many of us, especially in I guess Western society, we tend to not want to say no. We tend to be hesitant to say no. Um, we want to find ways to politely say no, but then we but we end up talking around it rather than just saying no.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kind of got me there, and it was in conversations with some friends, especially some female friends of mine. Not that it only happens to women, but I noticed that many of my female friends and counterparts oftentimes don't want to just say no to things. You know, they kind of acquiesce and say, "Oh, okay, well, I'll go ahead." Like, if you don't want to do it, just you don't have to do it. So it got me thinking just about all the people out there who, male, female, old, young, black, white, everything in between, who just have trouble saying no to things. You know, because we don't always have to be places to support other people and do other things that other people want to do, but we're not interested in. So it's like, it's okay to just say no. And it's very powerful. And it helps to set boundaries in so many ways. And it was just in conversations I was having with people. I was like, you don't have to, go forward. But I don't want to get too far into just explaining that. But it was just like, no is a powerful word. Yes is also powerful.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But we talked about the people always talk about the power of yes, and you say yes, and you bring all this wonderful stuff into your world when you say yes, emotionally and materially and so on and so forth. But no also has a lot of power, because yes, it's just inviting, it's saying yes, I'll do this, but then no says no, I won't, and there it is.
Right.
And part of my thing is about not having to explain yourself about saying no. Like, no, I don't want to do that. Thanks.
Right. Well, and I just
so
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's kind of where it came from.
Yeah. And, because I was just listening to what you were saying about the fact that women, we have a tendency to always want to please. So because we want to please, it's always yes, 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 yes. And I find, and I've done it many of times, you find yourself feeling guilty when you want to say no. But this year I have found the power of no has been essential. Everything, that I've done or have been doing or continue to do. And a big part of that is because times are just different. And, you really do have to look at yourself and say, what's most important? And I think that we've been learning that a lot throughout the last 10 months, 11 months that here, things are not the same, with all the pandemic stuff going on and everything that surrounds us. We've all had to rearrange our lives in such a different way. And so every time that we would say yes to something, whether it was, how many classes you're going to do today, or, are you going to go and do something else? It's like we were constantly always trying to please people to say, yeah, we're going to be here, we're going to be there, we're going to be as supportive as you can. But at the same time, now it's all about your safety. Now it's all about being healthy and wondering, okay, now how am I going to do this differently, but still be able to be supportive, but also in the mindset of it's about me. And you're right, the power of no really is much more formidable than what we usually look at. Like I say, when you say the word yes, it's, if you say yes, you're going to have a better life. And if you say yes, money's going to pour. If you say yes, but at the end of the day, even saying yes to everything is not always as healthy as sometimes saying the word no. And, I think that from here on out, because of the way things have been here recently, people will continue with that. If they don't, I know I'm one of those people. I definitely have learned to say, much better this year than ever, I'm not doing that. I don't feel like it. I'm not doing it. I quit feeling guilty about why I don't want to do it, whether it's working out or whether it's wanting to be around other people, whether it's having to travel, because a big part of my job, even though I still have business, I still work, I travel a lot. And, it seems like this is the first time this year where people will say, well, do you want to travel? I'm like, well, do I really have a choice? But it's like, but just being able to say, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to be here for this portion of time. I'm not going to do those extended long periods of travel like I used to, because it's about my safety. And then I don't want to come home bringing things into my home that I wouldn't normally think about, but it's just something that I think it's a great topic of conversation. And I think that even though, like I said, 2020 has been rare, to say the least, but it's some things to definitely pay attention to, and some signs that I personally feel that I can see that it was one of those moments of saying, hey, you need to slow down. You need to figure out what you really want to do. You need to understand what's most important in life, and it needs to carry on for next year, So, when you asked about, hey, let's have this topic of discussion, I'm like, you know what? I'm sure that there's a whole lot of people sitting around here thinking about, how much have I said no to this year? So
Exactly.
yeah.
And you asked me also kind of where the story came from, my inspiration. I remember when I was living in Charlotte, North Carolina, I was at church, and the sermon from now Bishop Tanya Rawls, shout out to her. She one of the things that she, at least I guess in her sermons, I felt like she kind of came from a place of liberation theology. Mm-hmm. It was just about freeing yourself, but anyway, one of her sermons that one particular Sunday was no. And I was like, what is this going to be about? Because I was like, I have never heard this before. And one of the things she kept saying, or one of the things that reverberated for me within her sermon that particular Sunday years ago, this has probably been more than 10 years ago, was no is a complete sentence. And I was like, what? Okay. Because, I mean, if you think about it, usually when we say yes, comma, and the rest of whatever we have to say. Like, yes, I'll do this, and what do you need me to do? Blah, blah, blah. But when you say no, you can just say no. And no, if you think about it, too, is the same in, like, every language. Or if you say no, if you're in Russia and you say no, they know what you mean. I mean, it might be ni or niche or whatever,
right.
In different languages. But if you say no, they pretty much know that means no, I'm not interested.
Right.
So, but the going back to her sermon though, one of the things that I really took from it was no being a complete sentence. And we touched on this before as well. It's just like you can say no without having to explain yourself. People might not like you because people want you to acquiesce to what it is that they want you to do for them. But you can say no and just leave it like that. And you don't have to explain it. You don't have to say anything else.
Right,
But,
right.
oftentimes we do find ourselves doing that.
Yep.
Oh, no, I can't because I have to take the kids to volleyball. Or, oh, no, I can't because I have somebody coming over to install a new washer and dryer. Or, no, I can't because I have to work. Or, no, because. And we always find ourselves explaining no. We don't always explain yes, though, by the way. We say, yes, I'll do it. And I'll do whatever you need me to do. I mean, but sometimes we do give the other option. But no's always tend to get explained away. So we just let the person know, I would, but I can't because. And it's like, no, just say no. And that's it. And go on your merry way.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be mean about it. Be like, no.
Right.
No, I can't. And then that's it. I'll see you next time.
Well, yeah, and you're right. It's because people feel like, we all feel like sometimes we have to justify why we're saying no. But like I said, at the end of the day, no just means no. And sometimes just people aren't used to hearing that word, especially when you're an individual who always says yes, and
Exactly.
And I think that's part of the reason why people feel like they have to explain everything. But, at the end of the day, it's like, hey, it's a personal choice. And so it's I think the big part of it is just really people respecting that choice that you make, and instead of always having to feel like there's something else there, and that's the reason why you're not doing what I asked you to do or whatever the case may be. And so, when you think about that sermon that was given, like I said, it's like, that's awkward, but at the same token, it's liberating to understand that you have every right to whatever decision that you make, and whatever that decision may be, whether it's yes or whether it's no, at the end of the day, you're the person who has to live with that choice, right? So,
right.
I think if everybody listens to themselves and thinks about how those words are being utilized and how powerful they are, and look at it in a different way versus just versus looking at it in a way that we always have to please people versus trying to understand, why are we pleasing people? What is it that makes us constantly have to say yes versus using the other word no? And like you said, it's not about being rude or arrogant and ignorant or anything. It's about the fact that at that particular moment, whatever that question is or whatever the case may be, it's like, how do you respond? And then how do you respond in a way where you don't feel like you're being judged? And if you are being judged, then so be it. I think sometimes you just have to let people swim in their own water. And if they, drown, they drown, because they're doing it to themselves, not so much because of the fact that you have put them in that position. It's just the fact that, hey, this is a time I don't want to do something, and I'm okay with that. And either you're going to be okay with it or you're not.
I agree completely. I agree so much. and also, I won't go on this for too much longer, but it also takes me back to and this is definitely more severe situation, but like with victims of sexual violence, like if you report it, and I know some of our listeners might say, well, this is kind of extreme, so I'm not going as far as you think I'm going to go, but when you report that you were a victim of sexual violence, one of the questions that usually the authorities ask, and sometimes they may ask in the hospital, though usually in the hospitals, they're usually more non-judgmental, more neutral, of course. But one of the questions they ask is, did you say no? Mm-hmm. Because that's very important for them to know, because, once you verbalize no, and you can say, yeah, that's correct, I said no, then that lets them know that you did not agree to be a part of whatever you were a part of, and there's a lot of whatever happened. So that's a big thing, and I know, like I said, I know that's more on the I don't want to say severe end, but on the other end of saying no. But there's a lot of power in that, and so. It's important that people know that, like, whether you're just saying no to Mary down the street who wants you to come over to her house, and we're in the middle of a pandemic, and you see people running in and out of that house all the time, right? And she just wants you to come hang out, and you never see her with a mask on, and you haven't seen her wash her hands. Exactly. You can say no to that. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Or or on the other side, if somebody wants to help with a project at work, and you're not interested in being a part of that because maybe it's outside your skill set, or maybe it's perfectly within your skill set, but the people a part of it you'll be teaching as opposed to actually participating. And you're like, don't really want to do that. If you don't have to, no. Good luck.
Right. That's right.
And you don't have to offer to help. You don't have to help offer. Oh, if you have questions or anything, let me know. You don't have to do that. You say no, but good luck, and so on and so forth. Or if your significant other's like, you want to watch a movie tonight? If you don't feel like it because you want to binge on Netflix, no.
Right.
So, yeah. It's just, yeah, go ahead.
No, I just said for thinking, when you were giving these examples, and I was just thinking the other day, at work, they always try to have these new team gatherings, and it's like, oh, it's an opportunity for you to talk and ask questions. And it's like, it's funny when, if you don't say something, people are like, well, what's wrong? I had that question. It was like, well, you're not saying anything. Well, it's because I don't have anything to talk about. So, no, I don't need to say anything. I'm good to go over here. And it was like, people get this attitude just because you're not participating. I don't have any reason or any need to participate right now. The answer is no, there's nothing wrong. So, it's just that funny part when you think about when you utilize that word no, and it was, I think the part of it that caught them off guard is that, they think, well, here's your opportunity to ask whatever questions you want to ask and say what you want to say. But when people can't just respect the fact that you have nothing to say, they think people get more aggravated, and I don't understand that. just was like, I'm like, why are you getting mad? I'm good. Hey, I don't have anything to ask. I'm listening to what everybody's saying. If I want to chime in, I'll chime in. But no, I don't have anything to say. And it was just it's like the whole conversation went left, because I said no. So, it's funny, but like, you're saying that using the word no is powerful on every end. Like I said, whether it's down the street, whether it's at your job, whether it's something very personal, when you're talking about the sexual violence and domestic violence, it's all the same. Those words, using that, getting that understanding is very, very, very important, because people always have a tendency to assume. And so, you don't want people to do that. And so when you feel like you're squeamish about saying the word no, utilize it in a proper way, but utilize it in a way that you do feel powerful, but also be respectful, and just don't feel like you have to always, give an explanation, but realize that when you use that word, that there's a good or bad consequence, whatever, how you want to look at it. Because sometimes when people say no, it's not always for the right reason, so, I definitely, think that this topic of conversation is good, especially with the way that this year has been going. And to be honest, I see this still in the future, that things are not going to be the same. And we all have to prepare for that. We all have to be okay with that, and start realizing, like I said, to continue to keep that safety side of ourselves and realize what's most important. Our significant others are right there in front of us in our homes, and our own personal, if you have no significant others, it's just a lot of things have changed. And I just think it really has brought everybody back to the basics in life.
Yes, that's correct. That's so correct.
And there's some people didn't know what basics were, but they sure learned quickly, didn't they? You want me to do what? I gotta stay home. Oh my gosh, can't be around everybody else.
And I think too, when I think about this topic, like I can think of all the instances where I've said no, and I do want to share this too. I've noticed, and you may or may not agree, that as I've gotten older. And I never thought I would say this, because I was young when somebody said this to me,
mm-hmm.
that as we age, we tend to be able to better set our boundaries.
Yes.
And I remember, let's say 20 years ago, not really being able to understand this concept, and then, or feeling like if I told somebody no, that I might have been hurting their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if their feelings are hurt, ultimately that's on them. It's like, I didn't say no to hurt your feelings. I just said no because I don't want to do what you asking me to do. So, I mean, I'm sorry your feelings are hurt, but,
Yeah.
But I've noticed, as I've gotten older and in my, I won't say aging process, it's not really a number of things. Maturity comes with age, I believe, to some degree, although sometimes I think we give people too much credit for being adults, but that's another topic for another day.
Ooh, that's going to be a good one, okay?
Yeah.
Too many great examples on that one, but anyway.
Yeah, I just feel like, though, that for me personally, as I've gotten older, being able to set boundaries for myself and saying no is part of setting those types of boundaries has been easier, whether it's been at work or in my personal life. And I'm specifically thinking about something that happened over the summer, but I don't want to get into that. That's a whole other thing.
Right.
But, and then we could go on all day talking about examples of where we say no, and but it's just the ease with which I can say no, and because whatever I'm presented with, automatically I'm hearing it, and I'm like, that's not going to work for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like as you get older, sometimes, and not to say if you're younger you don't figure it out, but when you're older, it's like, or when you get to a certain age or a certain level of maturity, I don't know what to call it. It's like we recognize the no, and then it's easier for us to express the no. and not feel bad about it. And just
Right.
like, okay, well, good luck to you in what you're doing. I'm just not participating.
Right. Well,
And leave it at that. And,
yeah, I agree with you, but I think a big part of it is it's even if it's definitely, I think sometimes it's age definitely has that purpose behind it, but I think a big part of it is that we just realize at this point in our lives what's most important, and I'm in my 50s, so there are things that I did in my 40s and 30s. I just don't want to do anymore. I'm just tired. I'm not going to do that. I don't feel like doing. I don't feel like I have to explain it, so I do now whatever decision I make, I do it because I want to do it, not because I feel like I have to do it. And I think that's the difference. Like I said, definitely age comes with some maturity there, but at the same point, I think that a big part of it is just that our thought processes are just not the same. We're not teenagers anymore. We're not in our 20s anymore. We value things in a whole different perspective. And you're right. We would have never thought about this when we were in our 20s and 30s. Even when I was in my 40s, just 10 years ago, I would have never thought the way I'm thinking now, because I just felt, I just got to do this, and this, and then realize that when you start to hit the wall more and you pay attention to that, you start to realize and value life a little bit differently. And I think that's a big part of the reason why using those powerful words of no, or whether it's that powerful word of yes, it has to do more with not just pleasing people. It's about realizing what's best for you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And like you said, for those who take it very personal, that's something they have to deal with. And so, yeah, I definitely agree with you when it comes to, age. I'm like, I don't have time for it. And if don't feel like doing it, I'm just not going to do it. It just is what it is,
It's true.
So, because you just find yourselves constantly running ragged. And then when you get done running ragged, you're trying to understand, how did you get there? And why am I here now after I did all these things? And then you realize, I could have been doing A, B, C, and D. And whether it was just sitting on my butt all day long, if that's what I want to do, I have that right. I think that we learn, like I said, we have to learn to be more healthier, conscience-wise, versus feeling like you have to constantly run and do this and do that, and because we're trying to please others, or you're trying to feel like, oh, if I don't do this today, then I'm missing out on something, and not realizing you're not really missing out on anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I absolutely agree. Yeah. Wow, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much more we can interject and explain and understand the meaning of the word no, and obviously everybody's going to have their own opinion and thought processes behind that word specifically, and how it affects them. But that's what this show is about. We're about sharing our experiences and giving those little teaching moments. Making people understand, what life is really truly valued at, and how it really does affect you as individuals. So, I guess that's all I have to say about the word no. I mean, you have anything else you want to talk about on the word no, or shall we move on, because it's getting close to the end of the show?
Well, I will share this funny little, it's not really an anecdote, but it's just a funny little story about the power of no that continues to resonate with me years after it happened. I was working in retail back in my late 20s, early 30s. And I remember being in the store. It was in the store, of course, it was a retail store. And this girl I worked with, her name was Amber. Well, we'll call her Amber. And this guy came in, and he always would come in and try to talk to her, and she was not interested. And he finally actually asked her out, and I was present, near her in that in the area where she was when he asked her out, and she was like, no. And then he left, and then I was like, because he asked her out for the weekend or something. And I knew she was off because I knew the schedule because we worked together. And she was like, yeah, I'm off this weekend. But she was just like, I don't want to go out with him. So she said, I'll probably just lay in bed all weekend and pick the lint out my navel. She said, but I'm not interested in going out with him. So I told him no. So it's that easy, people. You can just say no and stay at home and pick the lint out your navel. Hopefully you don't have lint in your navel, but, that's between you and your navel.
Right. I love it. These are between you and your navel.
Between you and your neighbor. A little funny way to wrap up the power of now.
Exactly. Well, I mean, like I said, that's what we're here for. It's about inspiring people to think, realize that we're all different in our own way and our experiences are different, but at the same time, when you look at it, they're very much the same. And it's just about being human and just accepting what it is that you're most comfortable with. And that's really, like I said, what we're here to do. And we're just more of an open book. And, we talk about, like I said, our personal experiences that most people probably wouldn't put out on the table. But that's the whole purpose of having your listeners, join in and realize that the podcast show is not just always about just hanging out and being stupid. It really is so much more that you can give to the listeners and hope that they are inspired by everything that we talk about and how we interject into their lives in a different way. That's all. So, Mr. T, I tell you, this is always the part that I hate the most, is coming to the end of the show.
I know, me too.
Yeah, especially since we had a little break. But, sometimes we need those breaks too. So we were like, okay, we got to jump back on the wagon. So we're back, everybody. I know y'all missed us. Because we certainly missed you guys. That's right. Oh, goodness. But as usual, Mr. T, I love spending time with you, and I enjoyed this topic of conversation with you.
Oh, and same here, Lady K. It's always a pleasure.
Well, thank you, darling. Thank you. And to our listeners, we are here every month. And even if we're not live or, go back and listen to our recordings, our previous recordings. This is the first year that we actually are on our own platform. So we're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. So, follow us. If you have any suggestions of topics of discussion you would like us to do, you can come to our Facebook page that we have, Moments with Lady K and Mr. T. So you can follow us there. And as well as our Instagram. And where's our Instagram again, Mr. T? I don't know why I can't never remember that. The most important thing is the Instagram, right?
I know, right? I know. And I always have it ready so I can say it. But it should be Moments T and K. I'm going to pull it up actually while we're on right here just so I say it correctly.
Okay.
Excuse me. Moments T and K is something else. I think that's our email, I think. Or, yeah.
Well, you can email us too, because that's at gmail.com, right? So,
Right. So it's Lady K and Mr. T podcast. Lady K and Mr. T podcast on Instagram.
All righty. Well, and what we'll have to start doing too is that I guess we should post this on our Facebook page, because a lot of times I don't even post that because we're so used to just dealing with Facebook sometimes. So, like I said, we're here, once a month, and we always do our Sunday shows because we love Sundays. It gives everybody an opportunity to just kind of wind down and tune in at 7 p.m. Every month. And like, so if you have a topic, leave us a message, whether it's on Instagram or whether it's on our Facebook page. Let us know what you want us to talk about. And if you're interested in being a guest, let us know that as well, because we would love to have you on so you can have that great topic of discussion with us. But until next time, you all enjoy your evening. Mr. T, I love you, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon.
I look forward to talking to you as well soon. Mwah.
Mwah. Everybody else, good night.
Good night, everyone. Moments with Lady K and Mr. T will return next month at 7 p.m. Follow us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.